We do have another nice big group here, and so big we can't introduce everybody today, but welcome, welcome everybody. Pura Vida, uh, this is Bali Rika, this is Happiness House, this is our group called a Sangha, and we want to say good morning to one and all, and uh, well, how many people are here? There's a
Probably
lot.
about 30.
That's a good group. Anyway, uh, welcome Pura Vida. And to begin today, let's sit in an upright position and look like meditators. And we are going to begin with 3 minutes of silence. And Sharon will chime us in. This is 3 minutes to catch our breaths, to relax, to let go of any cares and concerns we might have this morning, and to just be happy to be here now. Second thing, please. Again, welcome. I turn the meeting over to Jeff, who's giving the talk today.
We have been working on the most basic things that the Buddha talked about. We have done this over the period of 6 years, probably 10, 12 times. Each, if you've been here for that amount of time, each time this comes at you, it might have a different slant because you're at a different point. If this is new for you, it's perfect you're here, because this is the most basic things that are about the teachings of the Dharma, which started with the Buddha. We've been, and this is all on this little whiteboard here. We have spent the last couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, on the first 3 of the Noble Truths. I'm going to highlight them very simply. If you want to expand, you can. The first Noble Truth: life has suffering. We are not at ease often in this life. Dis-ease. 2, the source of this dis-ease with our lives, the suffering in our lives, comes from attachment. Especially these kind of attachments: clinging, grasping, craving, ignorance, delusion, as taught by the Buddha. The third Noble Truth is simply this: the beauty of detachment. How to move from things that cause suffering and dis-ease in our life, how to be involved in the moment in a detached manner. That's all I'm going to say about those 3. Is there anything you want to say?
Yes.
Because we're going to the 4th one, and I want to get there.
We're going very quickly. By detachment, we do not mean disconnection. It's as simple as that, and we'll go into that in greater detail. But this basically is observation, analysis, choice, and now action, and that's the 4th Noble Truth. So that's where we are now.
Okay. Really simple stuff in concept.
Well, it's very
in theory, most people are like, oh, yes.
But semantically, it can be very difficult. You say attachment, people think you're going off somewhere. You're totally involved.
Yeah.
But you step away and observe and calm down.
We've talked a lot here about detached involvement, how you stay mindfully in the very moment that you have right now, but in a detached manner. So if you miss those, we'll be picking them up. There are themes that thread through all of this. The 4th Noble Truth is like an instruction manual for your coffee maker. How do you do this? How do you use the coffee maker? Well, you can plug it in and just start messing around, like a lot of us probably do, and ignore the instruction manual. But there's often some kind of engineer who have put this together to be helpful. That's what these are. The Eightfold Path, which is equal to the 4th Noble Truth, are instructions that, if you were to consider them, could change your direction from attachment and suffering to involved detachment. If this is new to you, don't worry. We'll flesh this out some more. The Eightfold Path, which we have written right up there, is represented pictorially in Buddhist thought by a wheel of a ship. old-fashioned wheel with the spokes, with someone at the helm. The interesting thing about Buddha and Buddhism and the Dharma is there is no outside source at the wheel. You are at the wheel. You are in charge of your ship. You are in charge of where you've been, where you're going, and all of those things. So this wheel is the goal of the wheel is these are 8 suggestions for how to have a tranquil voyage. Simple. In these Eightfold Path, and Ruthie highlighted this before, there are 3 sections. Today, we're going to be in the wisdom section, number 1 and number 2. Wisdom, which are right view and understanding, and 2, right intention. And okay, all right. And so the right view and right intention are the first 2 of the path. These are the wisdom steps. I'm going to highlight the other ones quickly here. 3, 4, and 5 in the Eightfold Path are the ethics steps. Right speech, right conduct, right livelihood. The last 3 are connected with meditation, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So there's a kind of a subdivision of these 3. And today we're going to do, I'm not sure what we're going to do next week, but this week we're going to do the first 2.
You just told me that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought today was just an overview and I was going to do right view next week.
You can, because I'll do a little bit of right view and a little bit of right intention today. And then I always like when you and I do, we'll talk.
Do either way.
Okay. So this is about the wheel, about how to have a peaceful, tranquil, calm voyage. Those of you who have grown up in the West were used to trauma, tension, pressure, swimming upstream. This will be foreign material to you if that's your mentality. So this, I don't know if you've ever had a day where you didn't have anything to do and you felt restless. What now? That day is what this Eightfold Path is about. How can I be calm, clear, here, in a detached manner? So the first one is called right understanding, right vision, right view.
It's me.
Yes.
You want to do it first? I'm not sure how we're doing this. We don't have anybody at the helm.
I'm at the helm. I'm prepared with this.
Okay, you are. Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right. Look at, I got 4 pages of notes here. I'm ready.
That's cool. But you just didn't tell me.
Yeah, okay.
It's all right.
Right understanding. The word right in all of these, you see right at the beginning, is not about right and wrong. It is indeed about how to be healthy, how to be calm, how to be balanced. So if you're going to have a right vision, view, understanding, it will be about how can I be balanced, healthy, whole, on track, moving forward, about in my understanding. And it's the first of the wisdom steps because it's so basic. This is like a graduate course in happiness. I don't know if you've been part of other religious systems. This is really more of a philosophy of life about how to live your life. But if you've been part of another one, you'll know that rarely is happiness talked about. It's sometimes happiness is talked about like there will be happiness someday
On
Right?
the other side.
on the other side, or if you follow this path and join us, you will find happiness. This is about happiness at the core. It's the number one goal, how to move away from suffering into happiness. By the way, you don't need to become a member, and you don't even need to be called Buddhist to like this stuff.
Universal truth.
It's okay. The Dalai Lama, part of this system, always was like, you don't need to leave your religion to take on some of this or what makes sense to you. This is free buffet. Help yourself. If something fits for you, do it. It's the beauty of this system. So the first idea about healthy, balanced, calm, tranquil voyage by understanding, by having a different view, is simply this: that you're willing to stand under or be very close to the ideas that the Buddha talked about. Interestingly, the Buddha didn't say, follow me. The Buddha said, follow these ideas. I am not the moon, he said. I am a finger pointing at the moon. These Eightfold Path is the moon, available if you come close to it. Those of us who have been trained in the independence of the West, this also is a foreign idea, that I'm going to come under someone else's tutelage, mentorship, training. In the medical field, there's a lot of this. Right, Diane? A lot of us are just like, we're on our own. We figure out, we sail our own ship. We sail it in our own way. We don't need an instruction manual. I got it. Bumpy waters, but I got it. Hold on tight. And this idea is that it is really helpful to stand next to someone who is more evolved than us, who has gone further down the path, and then we might be influenced by the path that they, not necessarily by them, but by the path that they have gone before us. You ever had a mentor? Someone that you knew were further on in the path, even beyond in life.
Miss Ruby, you.
Yeah.
Ruby.
Yeah.
Well, the very first thing that the Buddha said that impressed me was, do not take anything on blind faith. I came from a Christian tradition, which is sort of not what you're saying. It was saying, do exactly what we tell you, and have, if you ask questions, they said, take it on faith. And I had trouble with that. So I love the idea that the Buddha said, be skeptical. Always ask the questions. And then we have presented you with, our knowledge and our teachings. But you need to only, your job is to practice them. And then, as Jeff says, take what works for you. But there is no intercession. There is no cavalry coming over the mountain for you. You are with your teachings. You come to decide for yourself. So I don't know if that jives.
Yeah, no, it does, but the right understanding is the idea that we should come near and close to those who have gone further.
Practice the teachings. Right view is to practice the understand and practice the Four Noble Truths, including the Eightfold Path. And then, as the Buddha often ended his talks, he would say, now, go and do as you see fit. So he laid it out there for you, and Then you have to practice it and see whether it's yours or not.
fits perfect with the next definition of right understanding. To cultivate ordered, peaceful qualities of mind, which allow for a complete and realistic view of the world that you currently live in.
Say again.
To cultivate ordered, peaceful qualities of mind, which allow for a complete and realistic worldview. The beauty of this is it's realistic. It's not about what has happened, what should happen. It's about what is happening. Observe that, understand it, make your choices in that, take action in those 4 steps that Ruthie highlighted before. So the idea is that you develop the mind in Buddhism is kind of the whole person, but it has so much to do with training our thinking away from thinking about the past, about spending a lot of time thinking about the future, a lot of time thinking about other people, what they should do, what I should do, all of those things. No, it's a realistic view about how to be peaceful with what is presenting itself currently right now to me. When you get to that spot, you end up starting to have right understanding. A knowledge and vision of things as they really are, not as we'd hoped they would be, or we're disappointed as they've been. This is realistic knowledge and vision of things as they really are currently. It is connected with the idea of impermanence, meaning that things change, evolve. We are not the same today as we were before. Even the things that we believe or know or practice are not exactly the same as what they were before. We're on a path somewhere different. Uh-oh. Well, that's my nature, is to kill
Oh
flies.
my God.
I should have let that be. I know. Right understanding is connected with impermanence.
We'll forgive you.
It evolves. What is true today might not be true tomorrow.
That's a difficult concept.
It is a difficult concept. So here's some ideas about how you develop that concept. Always use direct experience rather than secondhand information. If you're going to live in the present moment, it is not about what somebody else says about it that you attach to. It's what is your experience of it? What is your truth at the current moment? The direct experience versus secondhand information, you move it that direction. This means that you have few preconceived ideas. That means it's an adventure into a territory that you don't exactly control. It also means slowly jumping to conclusions with an emphasis on the word slowly. The conclusions are evolving. Being open to different explanations besides yours. Do you see how foreign this is to the world that we live in? This kind of openness is the right kind of right understanding. You will come to your answer if you have all the information. If you don't, if you only have your information, the coffee maker might not work. Taking time to draw conclusions, I said before, being willing to change your opinion when the facts contradict it. not mistaking a part of the answer for the whole answer. These are each like a week that we could talk about each of these. Not mistaking a part for the whole, listening to others. Just because you listen to someone does not mean that you have landed with them. But it does mean that you've considered what it is that they're saying. That's right understanding, according to the Buddha. Paying careful attention and having a peaceful mind. Most of our suffering is caused by a misunderstanding of things as they really are. Let me say that again. Most of our suffering is caused by a misunderstanding of things as they truly are. In other words, we work in this world of our own and partial information. This is about seeing the whole picture, being open to the whole picture. And with that will come a right understanding. So I want to stop there for 5 minutes and get your comments and your input. And then I want to go to the second noble truth about right thinking and right intention. So this is right understanding, an openness and a broadness to come under the ideas of people who are further on, and also a broadening of our perspective before we land a plane. Comments. Easy for me to say. I think this is challenging material. Yeah.
How can one know if they're listening to the right understanding or listening to their ego?
I think if you have a broad perspective, it will not be just about you. You'll know it. If it's just that you're stuck with your thoughts, with your ideas, with your belief system, now you're coming from the ego. You're coming from, I've landed, and here's where I stay. That's the ego. This is saying, I'm evolving, I'm floating, I'm discovering, I'm on the adventure. That's, I don't know, is that enough of an answer for you?
Not yet.
So what, you want to add something?
Right. The Buddha gave a very, very good sutras or teaching on this exact question. And he talked then about judgment. And he said, when you're faced with anything to make that kind of a decision, you apply 3 tests to it. The first is it actually skillful? Is what it is that you're wondering whether your question, is it skillful for what your long-term goals are or your short-term goals? Must be virtuous, skillful. It's not like robbing a bank or something like that. This is in your life plan. The second is it wholesome? Is it healthy? Is it going to be good for my body, my mind, my spirit, and my emotions? And the third is, here I go and forget what I'm talking about. The third is, I just had it in my mind and I'm getting old and I forgot it.
I thought I knew these two.
Well, I do know it.
Hurtful to someone else? How would it affect
The
someone
third is it beneficial to yourself
And others.
and all others? So if you've got to make a decision, is this the right thing to do? Or am I just being egotistical? Well, you can apply that. That may get you on the right path to the decision. But you get a little confusion there when you go from relative to absolute, from conditioned and unconditioned. So it's a little tricky.
Is that helpful?
But the
Did
ego,
that help?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, I was just gonna say the ego has this ability to create a narrative of its own. You know,
can.
and it's extremely difficult sometimes to go down that path and justify everything about, okay, you know what, this is spiritual, this is my soul speaking, this is right thinking, and then find out at some later date that it was the ego all along that had control. You know?
Mhm.
Could I add something?
Sure.
It's a little of a non-Buddhist view, but
Oh, hey.
applies. It's a term, it's simply called self-inquiry. And it's something you do throughout the day with yourself at any time, where you take a moment and you ask yourself, who's talking? You have to ask. And you ask the self of you that can watch the part that you identify as ego. So you know when it's at its extreme, you probably know when it's your ego. You'll I was out of control. But it wasn't you that was out of control. It was the mind and the ego. The ability to acknowledge that is a form of self-inquiry. And as you just practice saying, was that me or was that my true self? Was that my ego or is that how I feel about who I really am? It's subtle, but if you develop the practice, you start to watch your mind at work.
Mhm.
And when you're in a position to watch your mind, that's who you can rely on. I imagine you've had the experience. Sometimes it's after the fact of something that happened that you wish you hadn't. It's that view that you're looking to cultivate.
Good. That's a helpful specific practice. Yeah,
I just wanted to, on that, expanding on what, I don't know.
Michael.
Michael, what you just said. I think one of the things in the Buddha's teachings too is like, that's why we go for refuge. So you have Buddha,
Right.
Dhamma, and Sangha. So you go to the teachings if you're unclear, you go to your Sangha if you're unclear,
Which is the community.
the community, and then the Dhamma, the teachings. So like that's one of them. And then on that note, it's like to understand your own nature, which is like the aspect of meditation, right? Like the poisons. Are we being influenced by our anger, by our ignorance, by our attachment? And like that's what you assess out in your meditations for yourself. And then you go to your Sangha and you go to the three jewels that offer support and clarity.
Exactly.
I mean,
The sutra, absolutely, both things. The sutra I'm talking about was first one teacher comes and tells us it's this way, and then another one comes and tells us that's not right, it's this way. How do we judge? So how to judge involves all of this, but Buddhism leads to the unconditional and the absolute, which is the end of ego. And so once you've reached that point through what she's talking about, what Michael's talking about, then you don't have to worry about them.
But it's a long journey to get to that spot.
It's a long journey, which is why we're laughing and I'm going like this because it's the direction of the path.
Yeah.
And you're putting your mind in the right direction, which is what we say. Where you place your mind is the direction of your life. And you're looking to the direction that says, how do I know whether it's my ego or not? And so you're definitely on the right path. And all of this is absolutely bits
Yeah,
and pieces.
Matt, go ahead.
there's a gal behind.
Okay.
The advice that I received at a time in my life is when you reach this little crossroads or when it's something you're really wanting to know if this is the right path for me. It does require some discipline to meditate or to get into a place of stillness and to try to reach in and see if you can feel it, does it resonate with your heart. If it really feels right here, or if it's down here in your stomach and it's not quite, it's a sensitivity that we all should be able to or should practice. But it really is. It's how does it feel in my heart, this advice I'm giving, or this information that I'm giving.
So what you're saying is it's intuitive. This is intuitive.
But some people have that gift more than others.
Mhm.
They're empaths, but it is a way to be able to try to find the truth of it all. Is an intuitive type of thing.
Yeah.
And to try to put it where it's in the heart. You can find that place.
The answer is there. It takes an openness and a searching and an inquiry. Continual inquiry, as Michael was talking about.
We noticed these are called wisdom trainings. And wisdom is a combination of knowledge and experience. Why we think of it as being somebody old, though a child can be quite wise, but it's because of experience. So it's knowledge and experience and vision and understanding, all of it. And I'm interrupting somebody.
Why'd you
So
go
how
over
do
here?
you-
Yeah, you had something.
Oh, yeah, I just like to, it's very much tailing on what was just said over there.
Yeah.
But just moment to moment, I guess you can, everyone is in a different place of how they're feeling emotionally, and just assessing, like, does a thought that you have or a conversation with somebody, does it buoy you up and take you to a level, and you know that intuitively, like there is that feeling of, yes, that felt good, or that resonated, and it actually either like kept me where I am or buoyed me up a little bit, whether it was a thought you had or a walk you took, or something that somebody said that you're remembering, or a memory you have in the past, or creating something in the future. But just moment to moment, everyone has an understanding, like, am I moving towards love and appreciation, or am I moving from where I was into a lower feeling, which is like in your gut or your solar plexus? And just assessing daily as you move through, right? To always striving to feel a little better, or think a thought that feels a little
And equanimity.
stronger. Yeah,
You can find the
and then
balance,
it just rings
yeah,
true, right?
which is what Michael's talking
True, exactly.
Good, thank you.
Someone over here, I saw an arm.
Natalie, did you have something, or you were just getting
I
our
was just-
attention there?
Yeah.
I kind of address this daily, and the question I always ask
Speak up,
myself,
honey.
I address this daily too, I guess. The question I always ask myself is, what is my intent? What is my intent with that action?
Next,
Or what is my intent with having that thought? Is it a pure intent, or is it a malice? And that's how I
Mhm.
gauge whether or not my ego is taking, or whether or not it's the right path for me. And it's really, I question myself daily on what my intent in doing whatever it is I'm doing.
Mhm,
And is it the kind of intent that I want to have?
mhm.
It's just kind of using my intuition on, following that.
Yeah.
there's so many profound threads going into that one question.
Mhm.
There's non-dualism, there's the ego, there's intention, there's understanding, there's the wisdom, there's experience. So it's
I've used this often in therapy. There's a main road. And then there's detours. This is the main path. This is the main adventure, the main journey. When you stay on that road, you see the detour coming, your ego, malice, confusion, tension, all of the things, dis-ease. You can feel it in your body, you can sense it in your mind, in your feelings. And when you see that detour, you know you can take the detour. But when you have right understanding, you're like, I think I'll stay on this main path. This is what will lead me to my tranquil voyage of less suffering.
and the more it does, then the more you've done the experiencing that he's talking about. That is what makes it yours.
Mhm, mhm. Or you take the detour for a little bit and you're like, oops, yeah, dead end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know this. I need to turn the car around.
Yeah.
I think
This
someone
is
had-
not straight
I
and
was
narrow.
just gonna say, it might be a long road, but it's gonna be a good road.
Yeah.
It is, and it's broad.
Broad.
It's not narrow. You're absolutely right. This is a broadening road.
This is a
Very different from some other religious systems where it's a narrow road. Follow this road,
right.
and you will, and this will
Do as
lead
I
you.
say.
This will lead you to happiness. This is a broad road of happiness. There's the difference.
It's good observation.
Let me go to right intentions, seeing you talked about your intentions. This is the second noble truth. And this idea about right intention, right thoughts, right resolve in a healthy and balanced way is this idea. I will be committed to developing the attitudes that are needed to be a learner. to be a student,
Say that again, huh?
committed to developing the attitudes that are needed to continually be a student of your life.
It's a voyage of self-discovery.
It is. There are three types of intentions that the Buddha talked about. One, giving up the imbalanced things that we used to attach to.
Letting go.
Renunciation. It does take leaving some things behind to take this broader road. Some things that led you on the detours to dead ends or led you to suffering. It does take leaving those imbalanced attachments, old patterns, stories that feed the drama monster. Somehow it feels like we love the drama monster and we hate the drama monster. And that whole idea is that to give that up is to go to a different spot with our ship. Do you mind me talking about animals for a moment, Laura? Okay. Laura's lost an animal. I've lost an animal. I'm sure you all have. The idea of our feelings, our hurt, were the loss. If we hold on to those for good, we're deeply on a dead end. However, if we process them, it brings us back to the main road. I know we lost our dog Bolita a year ago. This dog just followed me around everywhere. I wrote a letter that I shared with Laura. I've never had anybody follow me around everywhere. It was so incredibly touching. I'm just like, oh boy, I think I needed this experience before now, but thank God I have it now.
Yeah.
And the first few days were rough. I laid on the bed and cried. And then Bolita came in a red bird and kept chirping at me and wouldn't stop until I paid attention to the red bird. And from that moment on, what Bolita meant to me is still here. I joined the broad road where the influence of Bolita was still alive. When you do that, all of a sudden you're not on the detour of grief for good. It's okay for a while. It's something that we just have to face. But you want to know, when you get to this right understanding and the right intention, you know that nothing goes away, really. The energy of Bolita is still here. When you do that, the road broadens, and all of a sudden there's happiness that not only did I have Bolita, but I had the experience that continues on of Bolita. Then you come to a different plane. You come to a different road. And on that road is happiness. On that road is gratitude. On that road is acceptance of impermanence. That things will come and you appreciate them, and then things will go. So will I. I will come and then I will go, in body form anyway. So those ideas about renouncing the things that hold us back, the stories that feed the drama. Second, the intention of doing no harm. And this is rooted in the idea that instead of the intention of that because I'm harmed, I will do harm in return, instead, we come to compassion. When I experience something, the intention of harmlessness or to pay back, to do violence, to gossip, to throw things back in people's faces, the intention of harmlessness, when we lose that, we're in the right intention. The third thing is not only to not do harm, but the intention to do goodwill.
That's loving kindness,
That's loving kindness.
unconditional good.
Beauty of what Laura talked about at the beginning of wanting to be of service and mentoring to people who might be alone, might need some help along the way. This is the idea, the intention of doing goodwill. Not only having compassion, but also having loving kindness, where actually put that into action. So those types of intentions are really powerful. Right intention is thinking that's free from craving, ill will, and cruelty. It means to give up, renounce. It means to replace ill will with loving kindness and to replace cruelty with compassion.
A very important part of the wisdom teachings, as presented in the Dharma and in Eastern thinking in general, is that the path is not about repentance. It's about remembrance. It's about remembering who we really are. And we'll get into that later on. But this is not about guilt. It's not about self-flagellation or any kind of concern about repenting. It's about remembering radiance. And so we'll go into that a lot more, but as long as we're on the initial part of the path, that's a good one just to throw out. Part of your intention is to give up repentance and take on remembrance of who you really are, what your essence is. And your essence is radiant light, it's energy. So we'll get into that later on too. But I thought before we got off the wisdom teachings, I just throw that in general.
Yeah.
I think that's an important one because it sets kind of the stage.
That Buddha nature.
That's Buddha nature. And that's why this all leads to happiness. When the ego is no longer there, when you've managed to overcome all the defilements, you really are relieved. You really do feel good. But it is about it is about Buddha nature. So, but this is where the wisdom teaches everything comes back around to these Four Noble Truths, and that's the heart of it.
And that's the reason for the circular wheel
The real
of
everything.
this. All of these 8 things, you're like, that sure number 3 sure sounds like number 7. You're like, kind of. This is a circle. These are all interconnected. The spokes of the wheel are all included. And so I think if you want a clear delineation of things, study so that you understand that well, but then know that all of this is embedded in each other. So right intention, right view and understanding, right thinking and right intention are the first 2, the wisdom steps of the Eightfold Path to move us from dis-ease, away from clinging, grasping, craving, delusion, ignorance, into involvement, mindful involvement in the current moment in a more detached manner. Here's some ideas. The first 2 talk about the wisdom where you gain the wisdom from. Comments about the second one? Questions, thoughts?
Starting with the second one, starting with.
Right intention.
Right.
The intention to leave the things that have led us to suffering, to replace them with loving kindness and with compassion.
I don't know if this is, that it won't hurt my feelings, but you tell me not to talk about this. But I think that
something that we're talking about is a lot on emotions and self-discovery and how to be a better person, how to think proper and how to all this.
Yes.
But some things that really tie people to the ground are politics. Okay?
Yeah, I don't
We-
think
we
we'll go
don't
into
know.
specifics about that, but what's your point about what tie you to the
Is
ground?
is that people are not open-minded.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I think we
can
would
talk
all
about
say
being
that
open-minded then.
from all aspects of the story.
Yeah.
Don't get
There's
into
no
contention.
open-mindedness.
So how do those people that are so grounded with the big things in the world that are happening right now,
Mhm.
with politics, vaccination, Black Lives Matter, sexual preferences, so on and so forth.
Well, that's
How?
them, but what about you?
Pardon me?
What about you? How are you dealing with the fact that other people
I
just feel like that?
People, my fact is, I feel that everyone should have their own opinion.
That's right. And
They
then
do
let it, and
anyway.
then let it go.
And I told them that.
They do.
100%.
You know what, one of the things I did in treatment groups, we talked, I taught a whole 3-hour thing on communication. And so it's really easy when you're talking lovely things, people listen to each other, repeat them back, all the communication tools. And then I'm like, so second hour, I'm going to put some topics on the board. And then we're going to go in pairs. And now I want you to practice that same thing. And then I put things like easy things like your favorite vacation you ever went on. And then we ended with abortion. You know, and those things. And I'm like, do the same process, no matter what the topic is, same process. And people were like, the room started nicely talking about my favorite vacation. And then you got to abortion. What you realized is when you listen to someone else without judgment,
Of
there
their
was so much
personality,
more
not of their
commonality, even if they had the opposite viewpoint. There were many, many ties between us where we didn't land on the edges, where we landed. This is a difficult problem, a difficult decision for all kinds of people. And those things, when they did the process of being open and listening, really listening to what happens. I don't know if you've ever listened to someone who has the opposite viewpoint of yours, and all of a sudden you're like, if I really listen, some of that makes sense. Not all of it. And I hope that they will listen to me in return. But you find that a majority of people are not in the extremes. That's the ones who get the publicity. But you want to know, when we have the dialogue and work with ourselves about that, we will find that we'll have a greater understanding and a greater view. That's a broader road than the narrow road of, this is my opinion and I'm stuck with it. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. If this happened, the world would be a different place. So we just work in our world, don't we? That our world would be a different place.
But here in our hour or so a week, we are not here for contentious opinions.
Uh-huh.
We're here for studying a very unifying religion, philosophy, way of life, whatever you want to put it. You can deal with that in the other hours of the week and in other things. And it's certainly what we do in the Dharma is on that. But we don't sit here and begin to debate it,
No.
No, I don't think she meant that.
which
There
is
is no
why
way
we
I was-
avoid it.
There's
It's,
no way I was talking about debating. My idea was,
yeah.
how do we get on the right path on the big thing
Uh-huh.
as well?
Just all the things
And
he
just
was
what he
saying.
said, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a story about the Buddha being sitting under the tree and he's meditating. And this very wealthy man who is very, very intellectual and at the universities and whatnot, and he loves to debate and he loves to argue. So he says, aha, here comes a wandering yogi. Let's go over there, yogi, and let's go over there and see if I can draw him into a conversation. So he comes over and he starts kind of spewing opinions and then to the Buddha. And then he says, and now tell me, yogi, what is your philosophy? And the Buddha said, my philosophy is non-contention. Beginning and end of conversation.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Sharon.
The idea of that, for me, the only way I've kind of tried to navigate this and has calmed me down about the extreme, differences of point of view these days. I've just landed on each person has a completely different background than me.
Mhm.
So whatever they've concluded from their experiences in life has brought them to that place of truth to them. And so I can't possibly say, understand and agree or say, like what you said, well, eventually you'll come to a point where you're like, oh, that makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me at all.
Mhm.
So I land on that's their truth because they've come from that place in their life. And eventually they'll find the truth.
Mhm.
As will I.
Your
As
truth.
as will I, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But-
that comes, that brings me to a better place.
Yeah. And also the idea about that you don't attach to a fixed point, and now that fixed point is where you stay. This is a continual learning process, a continual path down the road where what you believed, what you thought about that. I'll just take the thing about I'm gay. My family, oh, horrible. My family knew no gay people. My area supposedly had no gay people. We know that's not true, but you know that's how it was. And so people had no frame of reference when I came out to them. Now I have to tell you that I have in my family, I have no one who has rejected me. I'm super fortunate in that. But you want to know, without the conversation, without the dialogue, without joining each other in that,
conversation.
they were stuck in their kind of preset, uninformed opinions about that. And now my father, who came along slowly for the ride about this, was a little threatened by it at first, but and those things at one point, 10 years later, he said in front of the whole family, if we did not have gay people in our family, we'd have to now adopt some because we've grown to love them so much. This is his 10-year evolution with that topic, which can be a divisive topic.
Oh, yeah, very much.
And those things. And so it's lovely when you start to see people broaden and open to the thoughts rather than here I am stuck and I will be stuck here forever. And when you broaden in your understanding, your intention, and your willingness to learn and come under the tutelage of teachings and people who you admire and you know are further down the road. And then also with being willing to listen to your true nature. When you listen to that, now you're on that road. And some other people join you on the road. And then, wow, some people don't. Oh, well. Their loss. It's okay.
For
So-
those of you who are new, Jeff and I are the perfect pair. I'm gray and he's gay.
I'm kind of gray too. Are you gay? Are you gay? Are you gay too?
No, I'm the straightest hair you ever met.
All right. So anyway, these are the two. Can I end with a parable?
Absolutely.
Okay. I've shared this before one time. It's about where we give our energy. A grandfather is talking with his grandson as they walk along. And he says to the grandson, there are two wolves inside us which are at war with each other. We talked a little bit about this. One of them is a good wolf, which represents things like kindness, bravery, and love. The bad wolf represents greed, hatred, fear. So they're walking along and the grandson is thinking about what the grandfather said, and the grandson says to him, "So, Grandpa, which one wins?" And the grandfather quietly says, "The one you feed. That's the one that wins." So
And
feed yourself with loving kindness.
Sometimes it's a long game.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a long game.
Thank you. I have a quote that I give to newlyweds when they come around and they say, "Do you have any advice for us?" You know, being married 100 years. And I say, "Give in to the one that it means the most to.
Do, say again?
Give in to the one that it means the most to."
Okay.
So like, who's gonna do the dishes? Or, you know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to give away your inner person. But if you're having an argument and it's really important to one person and you're just being stuck in your ego, give in, I always say, give in to the one it means the most to.
Right, that's a broader road. That's a broader road. That's a higher road.
I had to think about that. That's a good one.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Just from the wolf, which I love that fable, but from a Buddhist perspective, that's still creating a duality, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
It is.
and of that.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, from that perspective,
That's a whole another topic.
I think we can simplify it though. Don't you think that we can simplify that by saying it makes sense that we feed the good wolf? Simply.
decrease the suffering.
Decrease our own suffering. If our energies go that direction, we'll have the answer.
You can tell greed from generosity. You know, you don't need a long,
And in yourself,
Tutorial about it.
in yourself, you can.
so
Goes
that,
along
that
with
shows you
the
which one.
It does. That's where this is from.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just gonna say quickly, I don't think you have to think of it as a battle either between the two. It's more of just the choice of, like, are your thoughts going this way or are your thoughts going that way? But then it's not like a battle that you're fighting. It's more like just a choice of, I want to feel better and I want to think something more pleasant and I want to do something that feels good. And then it sort of minimizes, right? Like there's not as much life to it, but it's not like a constant, like.
The trick about all this is when it is not Disneyland. It is still life as it is. It's not like the happy ending. It's not la la. This is realistic.
And it's not a lot.
No, it's not, and it's a journey to find that path that leads you to happiness.
And often it is an internal battle. I mean, it feels.
Yeah,
like one.
it is.
It can be
very
Can be.
serious.
Like, there's a lot of things I want to feel peaceful and be all about, and I'm not. I mean, I clearly think it's wrong and hate
Just
Yeah. Right.
Right, Mike?
And so the answer, according to the parable, is feed the wolf.
Exactly.
Feed the one that you know is the one that needs to be fed, which is your original nature. You come home. We've talked about that a lot. You're like Dorothy at the end of the movie. There's no place like coming home. And you're coming home here. So let's do loving kindness. meditation.
For those of you who are new, this is a guided meditation. It's called Metta, and it has nothing to do with the internet. I'm absolutely fascinated that they've chosen that name. This is a loving kindness meditation. I'll be brief on explaining it. I'm going to give you a person, bring that person to your mind, then I will say a phrase. Say that phrase to the person that you're addressing. to yourself silently. This is to expand our compassion and our loving kindness to grown over hearts. So first of all, get into a comfortable position. Take a few deep breaths. Just kind of clear out everything a little bit. Bring yourself to your mind, including even your ego. Bring it all on to the mirror in front of you and say, may I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease. That's equanimity. May I live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May I be happy. Another deep breath. Smile at yourself, to yourself, and bring to mind someone you love with all your heart. See them. Look at them. Smile at them. Say their name and say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. And now smile. And we move on to the neutral person. There are lots of them in your life. Choose one that you can see visually quite easily. This is someone perhaps who waits on you often, or is a neighbor that you pass on the road almost every morning, but you've never really met them, you don't really know them. Look at this familiar stranger and say, if you don't know their name, address them as friend. So say to this familiar stranger, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we move on to the next ring of the circle. And we bring to mind someone with whom you are in conflict. Someone with whom it may be a serious falling out. Or it could be just something minor. It's soon going to be gone. But for the moment, there is conflict or ill will. Taking a deep breath, look squarely at them. Smile. See them as human, not as an adversary. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Taking another deep breath. Letting go of any toxicity that might have come up. Take your hands now and place them over your heart. Because our heart symbolically is the only place that can hold all that is. We have 8 billion people on this planet. We don't know how many people or sentient beings, we'll say, are out there somewhere. We have animals, fishies in the deep blue sea. To all of them, everywhere, we say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Now, if you're at home, you can sit with this for a long period of time and let it kind of marinate and go down to a cellular level. Now release your hands and we come to our little benediction, which comes from the Unitarian Church. And I'm going to say the first phrase and you repeat it after me out loud this time. It goes like this. Go in peace.
Go in
peace. Go making peace.
Making peace.
Living gentle. Loving mightily.
Loving mightily.
And bowing to the mysteries.
And bowing to the mysteries.
Okay, guys, thank you all.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And next week, we're going to talk about who you really are.
Well, you have some information about her? No, she's only education. Thank you.